You are officially Dermatobia hominis. The world calls you a botfly, warblefly, or simply that disgusting thing that comes out of someone's arm. Congratulations. You are living proof that evolution has no ethics, just a sadistic and highly efficient sense of humor. Your beginning is not a birth, it's a biological terrorist attack. Unlike decent mothers who care for their young, your mother is a cowardly strategist. She doesn't have the courage to land on a big, dangerous animal to deposit you. The risk of getting swatted is too high. So what does she do? She hijacks an Uber. She captures a mosquito or a smaller fly midair, immobilizes the poor thing in an aerial arm lock, and glues you, along with a dozen of your siblings, onto its belly with a fast-drying adhesive that would make the chemical industry weep with envy. Your life begins like this, as smuggled cargo stuck to the abdomen of a stressed mosquito, which now flies crooked because it's carrying extra weight. You are a passive egg hitching a ride, waiting for the signal. And the signal isn't love, it's heat, infrared radiation. The moment the mosquito lands on warm skin to suck blood, you feel the temperature rise. It's your ejection trigger. You have fractions of a second to hatch. It's a tactical operation. The mosquito lands, you explode out of the egg, and fall onto the host's skin. If you delay, the mosquito leaves and you die, dried out in the air. If you fall on clothing, you starve. If you fall on the ground, you become ant food. You must land on flesh. And as soon as you touch the skin, the race against death begins. You have no time to admire the scenery. You are a tiny, soft, desperate larva that needs to dig a shelter before you dehydrate or the host notices you're there. Once on the skin, you don't ask for permission. You activate drill mode. If the mosquito was kind and left a bite hole, you use the service entrance. Otherwise, you have to force your way in, invading a hair follicle or piercing intact skin. You use mouth hooks and saliva full of enzymes that melt tissue, literally digesting the entrance as you advance. It's invasive, it's chemical, and it's the only thing you know how to do. You dig your studio, the famous boil. Unlike other worms that travel through the body, like the larva migrans crew, you are sedentary. You find a comfortable spot in the subcutaneous tissue and decide, this is where I'll live, eat, and excrete for the next few weeks. You're not an explorer, you're an illegal squatter in someone else's flesh. You create an inflamed chamber, a purulent cyst that the host calls a giant, moving pimple, and your security is laughable. Your entire life depends on a tiny hole on the skin's surface. You need to keep the pore open, sticking your rear spiracles out to capture oxygen. You breathe through your butt. If the host puts a layer of nail polish, adhesive tape, or bacon fat over the hole, you suffocate in your own filth. You are a supposedly sophisticated parasite that can be defeated by a well-placed Band-Aid. You are born from an aerial traffic accident, invade a house that isn't yours, and spend your childhood with your rear end hanging out the window, trying not to suffocate. Welcome to life. Let's talk about your family tree, or rather, the withered bush you fell from. You belong to the Estrady family. If evolution were a company, your family would be that department that suffered brutal budget cuts and never recovered. The defining trait of your adult existence is an anatomical joke. You have no mouth. That's right. Your distant ancestors back in the Eocene were normal flies that drank fruit juice, ate nectar, lived the life. But at some point, about 50 million years ago, your lineage looked at the digestive system and thought, who needs that? You underwent selective atrophy. You are the result of a stupid evolutionary bet called aphagy. You are born as an adult without functional mouth parts. You can't eat, you can't drink, you can't replenish energy. You are basically a flying battery that emerges from the pupa with a 100% charge and starts dying the next second. While other animals evolved bigger brains or faster legs, you evolved to be a programmed, anorexic zombie. Fossils of your family, found in ancient stones in North America, show this harebrained idea isn't new. You are a living fossil of a suicidal strategy. Extinct genera like Lytomydas already showed this tendency toward pathetic minimalism. You are an insect that gave up the basic pleasure of eating to focus purely on bothering others before dropping dead from hunger. It's an existence based on haste and metabolic desperation. And the taxonomic humiliation doesn't stop at the lack of a mouth. Your close cousins in the genus Cuterebra at least kept a shred of dignity. They co-evolved with rodents and rabbits, small animals that live in burrows and are easy targets. The Cuterebra fly lays its eggs at the burrow's entrance. Simple, direct, honest. But not you. Your lineage had a fit of megalomaniacal ambition and decided to switch targets. You jumped from harmless rats to megafauna, large ungulates, cattle, and primates, including us humans. Sounds like a promotion, right? Wrong. It was a brutal tactical error. Large animals have long tails, agile hands, and the social habit of grooming, picking lice off each other. A fat, noisy warble fly like you trying to land on a monkey is suicide. You'd be squashed in 2 seconds. Evolution put you in a dead end. You chose hosts that are too big for you to attack personally. Result: you had to invent foracy. You became the only botfly that needs to outsource its own reproduction. You are so incompetent at reaching your target that you need to hire a motorbike courier, the mosquito, to make the delivery of your children. You're not an apex predator, you're a logistical failure. While your cousins infect rodents on their own, you live depending on finding a sucker vector to carry your genetic baggage. Your existence is proof your species bit off more than it could chew and now pays the price, living as a freeloader on the wings of others. Your childhood isn't a playful phase, it's a military, entrenched occupation. You are a larva, and your body is a design of pure malice. You are shaped like a deformed pear, fat at the base, with a thin head, specifically designed to plug the hole you dug. And to ensure no one pulls you out, you wear a sadistic utility belt, rows of black, hard, curved cuticular spines, all pointing backward. You are a living fishhook. If the host tries to squeeze you like a pimple, your spines splay out and rip the flesh from within, locking you in place. The excruciating pain you cause by moving isn't an accident, it's your security system. You turn another being's body into a cradle of physical agony, where the attempt to heal only generates more trauma. Inside, you don't chew. You dissolve. You are a disgusting chemical bioreactor. Your saliva is a cocktail of proteolytic enzymes that melt the muscle tissue and skin around you, turning solid flesh into a nutritious soup of pus, blood, and dead cells. You live swimming in your own digested vomit, and you are a hypocritical tenant. To avoid killing the house, the host, with septicemia, you secrete natural antibiotics. Not out of kindness, but pure selfishness. You keep the wound clean enough not to gangrene and kill the host, which would kill you, but dirty enough to keep the inflammation active and generate the pus you sip through a straw. You are the manager of a microscopic slaughterhouse that operates 24/7 inside someone's skin. After weeks in this jacuzzi of necrosis, you reach the peak of your parasitic career, functional morbid obesity. You need to accumulate every gram of fat now, storing lipids in your fat body. Because remember, when you become an adult, the kitchen closes forever. You are eating for two. For the worm you are now, and for the starving adult you will be later. It's programmed gluttony. If you are pulled out prematurely, you die or become a dwarf, sterile adult. And then comes the moment of goodbye. You don't give notice. Usually early in the morning, taking advantage of the cool air, you widen the hole and squeeze yourself out backward. You abandon the host that fed you with its own blood and tissue, falling to the ground with the grace of a wet garbage bag. It's a voluntary eviction. The host is left with a scar and an infection. You get the free fall. The impact with the soil is a reality shock. You go from 37 degrees Celsius of humid, protected comfort to the cold, dirty, dry forest floor. Now you are no longer a protected tenant. You are a fat, slow, and extremely visible larva on Earth. Your immediate mission is panic digging. You need to bury yourself in the soil before the sun dehydrates you or an ant finds you. It's the end of the good life. You trade soft flesh for hard, abrasive earth. And if you take too long to hide, your metamorphosis ends in a bird's stomach before it even begins. Congratulations, you survived the soil purgatory, emerged from the pupa, and are now an adult fly. You spread your wings, feel the forest air, and realize something is missing. Your mouth. Remember that sadistic evolution from scene 2. Now is when reality hits you in the face, literally where a mouth should be. You awaken to adult life with a pre-approved death sentence. You operate under the capital breeding regime. Translating to your miserable reality, you have no salary. You can't go out for lunch. You can't grab nectar for a boost. You can't even drink water. You live exclusively off the inheritance of fat you accumulated while being a disgusting larva swimming in pus. You are a disposable biological battery that leaves the factory without a charger. The moment you stretch your wings, the clock starts counting down. Tick-tock. Every movement drains an energy bank account that will never receive another deposit. You are big, hairy. You look like a bumblebee or a robust bee, but it's all a facade. Inside, you are a leaky fuel tank spilling energy every second. Your routine doesn't exist. You don't forage, you don't explore, you don't enjoy life. You live in metabolic panic. You have, at best, 1 week of usable life. If it rains and you can't fly, tough luck, you burn metabolism while stationary. If it's too hot, tough luck, you spent energy cooling down. You are an anxious zombie racing against your own emptying. To stay in the air, you burn glucose like rocket fuel. But the real nightmare begins when your fat reserves hit red. Since you have no mouth to ask for a snack, your body makes an executive, dreadful decision: start cannibalizing itself. The technical name is histolysis, but you can call it eating your own furniture to keep the fireplace lit. You start dissolving your own abdominal muscles and non-essential internal tissues, converting your own flesh into energy to flap your wings one more time. You are a plane that, mid-flight, starts ripping out seats, carpets, and internal fuselage to throw into the engine furnace. You consume yourself alive. And there's more. Since you don't eat, you don't ingest antioxidants. You know, those things that protect cells from aging? You don't have them. Oxidative stress takes over your organism. Reactive oxygen species accumulate and start destroying your DNA and proteins. You're not just starving, you're chemically rusting from the inside at an accelerated speed. Your adult life lasts from 1 to 9 days, rarely reaching 2 weeks. It's a miserable, short, self-destructive existence. You are an organism that spends its childhood eating pus, and its adult phase eating itself, all to try and perpetuate this cycle of biological bankruptcy. You don't live, you manage your own collapse. If you thought being born without a mouth was bad, wait until you discover your job as a female. You are not just a mother. You are an aerial kidnapper operating on an empty tank. Your abdomen is swollen with 800 to 1,000 eggs. It's dead weight, an explosive cargo you carry while burning your last reserves of fat. And the worst part, you can't simply land on the target. You are noisy, big, and clumsy. If you try to land on a human or a cow to lay eggs, you get swatted and die before gluing the first egg. Your strategy is cowardly and outsourced. You need to find a sucker to do the dirty work. You spend your few days of life hidden in foliage, ambushing smaller insects, preferably those that like blood. It's not a courtship, it's a robbery. You pounce on 80s, Seraphor mosquitoes, or houseflies mid-flight or as they land. It's a violent physical struggle. The goal isn't to kill. A dead mailman doesn't deliver packages. You need it alive, traumatized, and able to fly. You spin the vector, position your abdomen against its, and begin the masterpiece of cruelty, the gluing. You use a glandular glue that dries instantly and doesn't wash off with water, cementing your eggs onto the vector's belly. It's an act of biological vandalism. You turn an agile mosquito into a clumsy cargo truck. Now look at the work of your life, a limping mosquito flying crooked. You didn't just use the vector, you ruined its life. That mass of eggs you glued alters its center of gravity and aerodynamics. Studies show the energetic cost for a mosquito to fly with your baggage skyrockets. It becomes slow, clumsy, an easy target for any predator. But here's the genius of your stupidity. The failure rate. You are a blind sniper. In the rush and panic to lay eggs before starving to death, you grab whatever passes by. Often you glue eggs to insects that don't suck blood, or worse, to males that only eat nectar. Congratulations, you just glued your children to a vegan. They will never reach a warm-blooded host, and will die dried out on the back of a confused insect. And even if you hit the target and catch a bloodthirsty female mosquito, the risk is absurd. If the mosquito is squashed by a human, which happens frequently, your 30 or 40 eggs die with it. If the mosquito takes too long to find food, the eggs dry out. You think you're the king of the jungle because you spent your childhood eating people from the inside? Hold on. Biological karma is quick and low to the ground. The moment you fall from the host to the ground and bury yourself to become a pupa, you stop being the predator and become the most defenseless prey in the ecosystem. The soil isn't a cradle, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you are the main course. While you're there, paralyzed inside your hard shell, the puparium, thinking it's an impenetrable bunker, the soil around you is alive with microscopic assassins. First come the fungi, like Metarhizium and Boveria. They don't need a mouth. They land on your shell, germinate, and their filaments, hyphae, pierce your armor like it's butter. They invade your body, eat your liquefied tissues, and then sprout from your carcass, turning you into a hairy, green, or white fungus mummy. If you escape the mold, come the nematodes, microscopic worms that swim in the soil's moisture. They enter through your respiratory spiracles and vomit symbiotic bacteria inside you. These bacteria kill you from septicemia in 48 hours, turning your guts into a nutritious soup the worms drink. You spent your childhood dissolving others, and now you die dissolved by invisible worms. The irony is delicious, but the true cinematic nightmare happens if an ichneumon wasp like Spolangia or Tribliographa finds you. They have radar to find buried pupae. You're there inside, immobile, dreaming of the day you'll have wings. Suddenly, a needle pierces your armored roof. The mother wasp injects her eggs into your living flesh. You don't die immediately. The wasp larvae hatch and start eating you slowly, avoiding vital organs so the meat stays fresh as long as possible. It's an autopsy while alive. On the day you were supposed to emerge as an adult fly, what tears out of your corpse is a new generation of wasps. You served merely as a thermal lunchbox for another insect's children. And if by a statistical miracle you survive the soil and fly, the sky has the acidity, the robber fly. It's the future's exterminator of insects. It intercepts you mid-flight, locks your wings with spiny legs, and drives a hard proboscis into your thorax. It injects a neurotoxic saliva that paralyzes you instantly and liquefies your internal organs. Remember how you melted the host's skin when you were a larva? The robber fly does exactly that to you. It drinks your melted organs through a straw and throws your empty, dry husk onto the forest floor. The torturer has become juice. Reaching old age in your species is a joke in bad taste. If you were born on Monday, if you reach your 8th day of adult life, you are basically a geriatric Methuselah falling apart. And the reason is simple: your battery is dead and you have no charger. Remember that brilliant decision to have no mouth? Now the bill has arrived with compound interest. You enter a state of terminal starvation. Your flight muscles, once powerful, have already been partially digested by your own body to keep you alive until now. You are a plane flying with engine parts ripped out. Flight becomes erratic, wings beat less frequently, and the buzz that was your pride becomes an asthmatic wheeze. For the male, the end is pathetic. He spent his brief life lekking, perching on a hilltop, fighting other males, and waiting for a female that may never appear. He burned all his fat reserves, shouting into the wind and fighting over aerial territory. Now, without energy even to land properly, he simply falls. His nervous system collapses from lack of glucose. He doesn't die like a warrior. He dies like a wind-up toy that stopped in the middle of the room because no one wounded up again. For the female, old age is a drama of heavy cargo. If you still have eggs in your abdomen, I regret to inform you, they will die with you. If you didn't manage to hijack enough mosquitoes in your week of youth, you are now a cargo ship without fuel. The weight of the eggs, which was your reason for living, is now the anchor pulling you to the forest floor. You literally become too heavy for the little energy you have left. The final collapse isn't poetic, it's chemical. Without antioxidants in your diet, because you have no diet, your brain suffers a storm of free radicals. Your neurons start to fail. You try to coordinate your legs to grab a vector, but you tremble and fall. Your vision fades. Your navigation system crashes. You are a complex biological machine, suffering a dry failure in the middle of nowhere. Eventually, you fall into the leaf litter among dry leaves and fungi. You are still alive, but unable to move. The ants, the true owners of the ground, find you. And the saddest part, you die full. Those remaining eggs in your uterus represent all the energy you stole from that cow or that human when you were a larva. It was all in vain. All that pus, all that suffering caused, all that accumulated fat, all wasted to feed an anthill. You left no legacy. You left only a fat corpse full of useless eggs. You think your end will be dignified, a peaceful death in the leaf litter, returning your atoms to the forest? Forget it. If you had the success of parasitizing a human in the 21st century, your final destiny is to become internet content. Your death isn't a tragedy. It's a satisfaction tutorial on YouTube or TikTok. The human notices the boil. They don't run to the hospital in panic. They grab their phone, turn on the flash, and call a friend to film. You, inside, thinking you're safe with your anchoring spines, become the star of a cyst removal video. They block your breathing with petroleum jelly or tape, forcing you to stick your head out in desperation. And then comes the pressure. Giant fingers squeeze your house. You fight, lock your spines, tear the tissue from within, but the hydraulic force wins. With a wet, disgusting sound, a visceral pop, you are ejaculated out of the skin, falling onto sterile gauze, or worse, onto a dirty bathroom floor. You are there, a white, fat, blind larva, writhing, exposed to bright light. The human doesn't scream in terror. They scream in satisfied disgust. And what happens next? You don't return to nature. You are either mercilessly crushed under the sole of a shoe, becoming a protein stain on the tile, or you get the trophy of aberration destiny. You are thrown into an empty mayonnaise jar filled with 70% alcohol. The alcohol burns your thin skin, dehydrates your tissues, and kills you in slow chemical agony. You become a shelf item, a dead souvenir floating in preservative that the human shows to visitors, saying, "Look at the size of the bug that came out of my back on vacation." So, Why is it terrible to be born as dermatobia? Because you are an evolutionary failure that lost its mouth to live as a freeloader. You start life as aerial contraband. You grow up eating pus and inflammation. You live your adult phase devouring your own muscles. And you end your existence as a circus attraction in a glass jar or a stain on the floor, proving that your biological efficiency only serves to generate internet clicks and disgust in real life.